Welcome back, everybody. Today we have Michelle Cohan.
Hello.
Hey, Robert Greenblatt here. Today we are jumping on here, guys, to talk about the concept of a home inspection deductible. And I don't think that's an official industry term, is it, Michelle? I don't
No,
think so.
I-
No. It's just I know it's a common term on our team, and it's a common term among other agents, but you may have never heard this before. A home inspection deductible, kind of think about it like health insurance or car insurance, but we're not this isn't in terms of insurance. So I guess the reason we're jumping on here is to kind of explain to you what we've been seeing the last few years in this market, and what does that mean from a home inspection standpoint. First, it's important to understand, I think, right, that the standard agreement of sale, which we also call a contract here in New Jersey, the standard template that's used by most real estate companies allows for a period of time where a buyer can go get a home inspection done, hire a licensed New Jersey home inspector, and the home inspector will look for defects, maintenance items, all that kind of stuff. That's the standard contract. But today, we wanted to share with you this concept of a home inspection deductible, right? So, what we have found, and we're going to exemplify this with a story that experience that Michelle had not that long ago. What we have found is because the market has been pretty competitive the last few years, you guys are getting really creative. Buyers are getting really creative. One thing we're seeing is people are waiving home inspections in some cases. Is that a good idea?
no, we certainly don't suggest that.
Yeah, we don't encourage
No,
that
that's a better
concept.
word. We don't encourage that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a property, you should probably have it checked out. Now, we also know that in some cases, it will put us at a disadvantage when we're making an offer if it's a very competitive scenario. So the hybrid answer is this concept of a home inspection deductible, which in essence, and we're going to clarify what this means in a moment, but in essence, it means something like, all right, I know no house is perfect. I realize that, but I also don't want the seller to get nervous about me as a buyer. I know some things are going to be wrong, but I'm a big boy. I can handle it, right? I can handle it. I'm not going to be a nervous buyer. I want the seller to take my offer. And for example, one of the things we're seeing is I may say, well, you tell the seller, Michelle, that as long as the home inspection items are less than $5,000, I'll handle that after closing. They're
Right.
not going to have to make any repairs for me. But I do want to hire a home inspector and get an inspection done. So what does that mean? Like what that whole concept, Michelle? We were talking about this, and we have a lot of experience with buyers making offers this way and contracts that are written this way. So tell us about it.
So we're not waiving the inspection. Most buyers that we talk to will say, okay, like you said, I'll waive the first 5,000 in total of any issues that arise from the home inspection. So whether it's structural, plumbing, electrical, they're going to waive it and take care of that. Um, Most of the time, the sellers are very appreciative of that because we don't nitpick at this point.
Yeah, so the home inspector is going to find all kinds of stuff in a house. And look, spoiler alert here, in my experience, most homes are going to have recommended repairs that are probably equal to 1 to 2% of the sale price.
Right.
That's pretty common. So if it's a $400,000 house, anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000
Yeah.
of stuff that comes up, right? So
All kinds of stuff. Like
all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it could be a bad thing, and we've talked about this before. Would be something like, oh, the house needs a new heater, right?
Yeah.
That's an expensive item, but I always tell people that when we look at a home inspection report, probably half of the actual report is the same on almost every home of a similar age.
Every single one.
Would you agree? Yeah. I
Double
mean,
check.
yeah. So, hey, you should put extensions on your downspouts to
Yeah.
make sure the water stays away from the foundation. Every home inspection, almost every home inspection report. Hey, I open the electrical panel and there are two double taps.
Double taps.
Now,
Yeah.
usually not that hard to fix either, guys. It's usually a service call from an electrician in most cases. So there's so much stuff that can come up, but the double taps is a defect that could be $500, and then you just start putting stuff together, and it can add up. And what we find 1 to 2% is not uncommon.
Right.
So, but there's a nuance here. So there's that $5,000 concept that some people are utilizing, and that's okay. But you had an interesting situation not that long ago where there was something like this baked into the contract, but it wasn't quite what we thought or they thought. And what happened?
So this particular contract, we had, I think it was like $7,500 that we said that we would pay for. I should say the thought process on my end, again, was in total. So this was a huge lesson for me and for anybody I deal with.
So let's clarify what you just said for everyone watching this. So you had essentially a $7,500 deductible.
Correct.
In concept, right? The buyer said $7,500, I'm good, right? So unless there's something crazy going on, I should be fine, right? In most houses in the similar price range. Okay, continue.
So unfortunately, again, in my mind, anytime I do this and a buyer does this, it's in total, literally in total. The listing agent at that time said, "Oh no, that's per item." I'm like, "Oh no, it's not per item." There were too many per items in this house that could have equaled an amazing amount of money. Needless to say, that transaction fell through. But it's important to note that if you're going to do this deductible, that it's going to be in total.
So let's clarify what you just said again for everybody watching this, right? We live this every single day. Those of you watching this, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, really, really important. So we started this conversation by talking about the concept of a deductible, right? So I was using myself as an example. Hey, as long as the home inspection items are in total are below $5,000, I'm good, right? And it may or may not be, but at least I know if there's anything crazy going on as a buyer, I'm protected. If there's a $20,000 structural repair needed to the house, I can still sleep well. I can negotiate it or potentially step away from the contract. What happened to you was a different interpretation.
Correct.
In your contract, when the verbiage in hindsight was a little gray, the way that contract was written, it wasn't perfectly clear, right? I remember this. The interpretation, we were helping the buyer, the interpretation from the listing agent and I guess the seller as well was different, meaning $7,500 per item.
Correct.
Which means that unless there's something almost catastrophic failure, that the buyer would not have a right to ask for any repair.
Correct.
In your case, right? So there's not too many individual items in most homes that are maintained well that are going to exceed $7,500 per item, right? I mean, really, a heater if it's catastrophic and needs to be replaced, a roof if it's catastrophic, a big structural crack. But here's the problem. The problem with this, guys, is what happens in this situation if there are 10 items.
That's insane.
At $2,000 each. Now, again, it's a little extreme of an extreme example potentially, but what if there's 10 items of $2,000 each? That's $20,000 of repairs, which was not what the buyer was thinking. Right. As a threshold. And it would seem unreasonable too, because any house could have 5 repairs. You could have 25 repairs. It really varies. Like there's no way to know for sure. The newer the house, the less repairs typically, but there's never a guarantee. I've sold 8-year-old homes that need brand new septic systems.
Well, I
You
can
know?
tell you this home that I dealt with was relatively new, was not old.
Yeah.
It needed a lot.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes homes are not well maintained.
Mhm.
We see it all. It's funny. Like every time I walk into a new potential seller's home and they're like, oh, well, it's not ready for photos or, the home, like, ignore this or ignore that. And they're, oh, we meant to fix this or we
Right.
meant to fix that. I'm like, look, the last thing I'm doing is judging you, number one. Uh, and it's just whatever you have going on here, spend a week with me. And I've seen a lot worse.
Just when you
Always.
think.
Yeah, like right, because that's what we do. We see houses like every single day, and we see how everybody lives, and there's just different standards. We don't judge. We're just in the in this industry to help. That's really
Right.
the bottom line. So real important. I think we got the point across here. Home inspection deductible. It's a good concept if you're comfortable with it. It can help your offer stand out. But it's important that it is presented properly, and we have to make sure that it's obviously written up properly as well, and that everybody is on the same page of what the expectations are.
Exactly.
All right, cool. All right, guys, thank you for joining us once again. Michelle, thank
Thank
you.
you.
And we'll see you again soon. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel. All right, enjoy.